Archangel Michael says, your spouse has noticed you've changed, and they are afraid to ask why. If you don't open this in 2 minutes, love may begin to fade. Something has shifted, and even if you haven't spoken a word about it, your spouse feels it deep within their spirit. There's a quiet tension in the room where laughter once freely echoed. The embrace that used to linger now feels short, distracted. They look at you and wonder if you're slipping away, but fear keeps them silent. Archangel Michael says this silence is not ordinary, it is a divine warning. Your energy has changed. Your presence feels different, and heaven is urgently trying to reveal why. There are unseen forces at work. What you thought were just mood swings or emotional fatigue are actually signs of spiritual interference. Someone has been whispering into your spiritual atmosphere, an energy, a presence, a weight that has grown heavier by the day. Your spouse isn't imagining things. They are spiritually sensitive, even if they don't fully understand it. Your soul feels the dimming of your divine light, and Archangel Michael says the clock is ticking. If this message isn't opened and received with full attention, love will begin to crack in places that may become too hard to repair. You may be tempted to think it's just stress, work, money, family pressure. But this goes deeper. Archangel Michael sees the unseen cords, spiritual bindings, emotional soul knots, and words unspoken that are creating distance between your heart and theirs. Heaven doesn't want your home to fall apart. Your union was formed under divine agreement, and that covenant is still protected, but only if you respond now. This message is the intervention. The angels have orchestrated this very moment to help you reclaim not just your marriage, but your own soul alignment. You've been different, and heaven wants to show you why, and how to restore everything. Type I am rising to get the blessing 4896. There are things you've buried, emotions you told yourself you had already healed from. But Archangel Michael reveals that these wounds never truly closed. They were only covered, disguised by distractions, and temporarily numbed by routine. And now, these spiritual scars are beginning to manifest in your energy, your decisions, your silence. Your spouse may not be able to name the exact cause, but they feel the tremor in your spirit. They sense that something within you is aching, detaching, and slowly surrendering to fatigue and spiritual weariness. And this is what frightens them most, not your words, but your spiritual distance. The divine realm shows that recently, your dreams have become heavier. You wake up and carry invisible burdens through the day. Your joy feels forced. Your reactions have become either too sharp or too quiet. This shift hasn't gone unnoticed. In fact, your spouse has been praying in secret, asking heaven for clarity, for insight into how to reach you without triggering more pain. They've begun to doubt themselves, wondering if they are the reason. But Archangel Michael says it is not them. It is the spiritual attacks and suppressed emotions trying to erode your inner foundation. When love becomes silent, it is a dangerous territory. It's not the arguments that destroy a home. It's the absence of heart-to-heart connection. And slowly, your soul has been conditioned to disconnect in order to protect itself. But this armor you've built is now turning into a wall, and Archangel Michael warns that this wall is not just blocking pain, it is also blocking the very love that could heal you. There is a divine urgency now. You must become aware of what you've been suppressing. Because without truth, the light in your relationship will begin to flicker more violently and eventually fade. I'm anointed to get blessing 9999. The angels show that a moment from your past, one you don't often speak of, is playing a powerful role in how you respond to love today. Perhaps someone you trusted broke a sacred bond. Perhaps a moment of abandonment, betrayal, or harsh judgment carved a hidden belief in your spirit that said, "You are not safe here." And so you began operating from fear rather than faith. You began loving from a guarded place, never fully releasing yourself into vulnerability again. Your spouse is not your enemy. They want your heart, but they are slowly accepting only fragments, because that's all you seem willing to give. Archangel Michael is not here to accuse you. He is here to protect you, and to restore what was lost before the enemy takes advantage of your silence. He's asking you to trace the origin of your pain, because healing doesn't start with your spouse. It starts with your inner truth. You've changed because your spirit has absorbed too many false identities. You've taken on burdens that don't belong to you. You've blamed yourself for things that were never your fault. And now that old pain is speaking louder than your present love. But heaven says that can change, starting now. Your spouse remembers who you used to be. The light in your eyes. The way you would talk about the future, pray together, laugh at night. They haven't given up on you. They are just afraid to say they miss the version of you who felt more open, more soft, more present. They miss the way your hands reached out first. They miss the warmth of your spiritual light. And you may not realize it, but they still believe you are worth fighting for. This message is not just a warning. It is a lifeline from the heavenly realm, reminding you that your divine essence can still rise. Type "I am chosen" to get the blessing 8127. You are not broken beyond repair, but you are at a divine fork in the road. One duet can lead to the deeper withdrawal, relationship of quiet resignation, and eventual disconnection. The other leads to renewal, to reawakening the divine soul within you and letting love breathe again in your home. Archangel Michael says the choice is spiritual before it's relational. This is your moment to open, not just this message, but your spirit. Let the divine truth be your mirror. Let heaven show you that love is still possible, still alive, still yours to reclaim. Your soul is the gateway through which divine love flows into your relationship. When that gateway begins to close, even slightly, your spouse can feel it in the way your voice lowers, and how your responses feel rehearsed, and how the warmth behind your eyes seems replaced with a veil of distraction. Archangel Michael says your spouse is not seeking perfection from you. They are seeking presence. But your soul has quietly begun to shut down, protecting itself from past wounds by withdrawing from current intimacy. And now, the person who once felt closest to you feels like they are slowly becoming a stranger. When love is no longer nourished, it starts to starve. Not from neglect of duties or lack of effort, but from the absence of vulnerability, openness, and divine exchange. Heaven says there is a sacred energy that flows between two hearts when they are spiritually in sync. You used to have that. You still do, but the connection is dimmed. Your spouse isn't accusing you, but they are afraid to ask. Afraid the question will make things worse. Afraid the answer will confirm the fear in their heart. And so they remain silent. But silence, if prolonged, becomes separation in disguise. The enemy doesn't attack what is already broken. He targets what is still worth saving. Your marriage, your connection, your covenant, it holds spiritual power. And the shift your spouse feels is not just emotional. It is spiritual warfare disguised as emotional distance. Archangel Michael warns that there's a dark presence assigned to keep you busy, distracted, irritable, unavailable. Why? Because if the two of you unite again in spiritual alignment, breakthrough will flood not just your home, but your generational bloodline. This is bigger than a relationship issue. It's about the destiny your unity was meant to carry and birth into the earth. Type "I am restored" to receive blessing 7402. Your spouse loved the way you used to speak life, the way your words carried hope, even in the darkest of moments. But now, your sentences are short, your thoughts are guarded, and your prayers, they've been fewer, shorter, or missing altogether. The divine realm sees this and grieves with compassion, not condemnation. You are not being punished. You are being pursued. Heaven is chasing your heart because love in your home is not dead. It is just buried under layers of exhaustion, unhealed grief, and spiritual interference that hath been subtly gaining access without your permission. Heavenly beings have surrounded your atmosphere because time is narrowing. If you do not act now, Archangel Michael warns, your spouse may begin to emotionally detach, not out of anger, but as a defense mechanism to protect their own heart. This is the pattern the enemy wants, both of you thinking the other is the problem, both of you retreating into silence, until the silence becomes the new language of your love. But that is not your portion. That is not your divine story. You were never meant to survive love. You were meant to thrive in it, lead by it, and be transformed through it. Archangel Michael is showing you glimpses of what your home once felt like, laughter that didn't need a reason, late-night conversations that felt like time had paused, touch that healed, and prayers that echoed with fire. All of that is still possible, but you must confront what you've been avoiding. Your spiritual fire has flickered because you've allowed external burdens to weigh down your internal altar. This message is a divine appointment to reignite that altar and choose to fan the flame again, not just for your spouse, but for the version of yourself who is still alive beneath the surface. Type I am healing to get the blessing 6219. This isn't just about returning to who you were. It's about becoming who heaven always knew you could be. Your marriage has a prophetic destiny attached to it. Your connection is meant to release healing into others. But first, you must acknowledge the spiritual hunger within your relationship and respond not with fear, but with faith. The angels are watching. Your spouse is waiting. And heaven is handing you the torch again, not to burn down what's left, but to relight what was always sacred. If this word has touched your spirit and stirred a fresh sense of boldness within, we invite you to respond with a super thanks of $20. Your support allows us to continue offering prophetic insight, comfort, and strength to those navigating the journey from betrayal to breakthrough. You can also give through PayPal by clicking the support here link in the video description. Every gift, no matter the size, helps us reach more hearts with messages of hope, truth, and encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to spirit-led direction, timely revelation, and words of life designed to uplift you in every season. Type I am ready to restore love to get the blessing 9111. There are blind spots you've been living with, areas of your life where spiritual fog has settled in so quietly, you didn't even notice how much it was blocking your ability to fully see your spouse's heart. Archangel Michael reveals that these blind spots have formed not because you don't care, but because emotional fatigue and spiritual overload created a kind of internal autopilot. You've been functioning, surviving, putting through. But love cannot flourish in survival mode. It needs presence, softness, attentiveness. Your spouse sees the effort, but they also feel the wall. And though they don't have the words for it, their spirit is grieving the distance. There was a time when your spouse would come to you freely with their worries, knowing they would be met with empathy and spiritual guidance. Now they hesitate. They wonder if they will be brushed off, or if their feelings will be met with silence, irritation, or worse, emotional absence. You don't mean to withdraw, but something inside you has grown heavy, and without realizing it, your soul began to protect itself by shutting down emotional access. Archangel Michael is saying, your heart was never designed to carry all this alone. But love cannot reach you if you won't allow light in. The enemy has exploited your exhaustion and convinced you that your distance is a necessary protection. But heaven says the very thing you think is shielding you is actually keeping out the healing you need. Your blind spot isn't your fault, but now that the light of truth is revealing it, you are responsible for what happens next. You can stay in the fog, or you can rise and walk toward clarity. Because intimacy is not just physical, it is spiritual transparency. And what your spouse misses most is the ability to feel you, sense your emotions, and know they're not loving a shadow of who you once were. Type I am open to receive blessing 5343. Archangel Michael is showing that there is an unseen barrier between your soul and your spouse's heart. It wasn't built overnight. It was formed over time, through heartbreak, disappointment, trauma, and loss. You brought this into the relationship not with bad intention, but with deep pain that never had a true place to land. But now, the relationship is absorbing the weight of what you never fully released. And your spouse can't heal it for you. They can only wait, wonder, and hope that you will let heaven begin the work that only divine intervention can complete. You've told yourself, I'm fine. You've smiled when you didn't feel like it. You've performed through pain, hoping it would eventually fade. But it hasn't. And that unresolved sorrow is now creating emotional scarcity. You're pouring from a dry cup. And your spouse, once filled by your joy, your laughter, your openness, is now left thirsty for connection. Archangel Michael pleads, do not let this become the new normal. You still have time to shift this atmosphere. You still have authority over this dynamic. But you must choose awareness over denial, healing over pride, and divine truth over emotional avoidance. Heaven is not asking you to fix everything today. This isn't about performance. It's about permission. Will you allow the Holy Spirit to show you the route? Will you give Archangel Michael the spiritual access to wage war on what's been attacking your connection? The healing starts the moment you stop pretending everything is okay. Because love doesn't require perfection. It requires truth. And the most sacred truth is this: your spouse still believes in you. They still want your soul, not just your schedule. They still want the real you, not the version you wear just to keep peace. Type I am releasing to get the blessing 5771. The angels are watching your atmosphere. They see the shifts, the missed eye contact, the shorter conversations, the longing glances that quickly look away. Heaven grieves not because you're failing, but because you're afraid to feel again. But Archangel Michael says, it's time. The blind spots can no longer stay hidden. The love you share is too valuable. This message is your call to see again, feel again, and open the sacred door where true intimacy lives. The one your spouse has been standing in front of, waiting for you to turn the key. Your spouse may not be able to explain it in words, but the energy in the home has changed, and they feel it deeply. Archangel Michael shows that this is not merely emotional tension, but a shift in spiritual energy that is pressing against the peace of your relationship. You may still say, I love you. You may still show up in the routines. But your spiritual presence, the warmth, the invitation, the openness, has begun to dim. Your spouse feels like they're talking to you across a spiritual canyon, unsure how it got there, unsure how to bridge it, and afraid that asking might push you further away. The angels reveal that something entered your energy field weeks or even months ago. It came quietly, attached to stress, to disappointment, to a subtle betrayal that you never voiced. It lodged itself in your spirit like a whisper, saying, you're alone in this. and over time, that whisper became a wall. Your spouse is standing on the other side of that wall, knocking gently, silently, hoping you'll hear them. But you've grown so used to the silence within, it's hard to recognize the sound of their love anymore. And now the divine realm is intervening before the disconnection becomes irreversible. This isn't just about words or affection. It's about energetic alignment. Heaven says you've been vibrating on a frequency of self-protection, which has unintentionally excluded your spouse from the deepest parts of your heart. They don't want to invade you. They want to be invited. But they are running out of signs that the invitation is still open. The love hasn't died, it's just been muffled beneath layers of exhaustion, spiritual interference, and emotional walls. Archangel Michael says, your awareness of this shift is the first step toward restoration. But awareness without action will not bring healing. Type I am reconnecting to receive blessing 6672. You might wonder how this energy became so thick, how love that once felt effortless now feels fragile. The answer lies in unspoken burdens. You've been holding on to so much, disappointments in yourself, in God, in life, and those unexpressed griefs have changed your vibration. You no longer walk with the same inner light. And your spouse, who once found comfort in your energy, now feels uncertain, even anxious around you. Not because they don't love you, but because they don't know where you've gone. Your body is present, but your spirit feels distant. That dissonance is creating silent heartbreak in your home. You are not broken, but you are disconnected from your true spiritual self. Heaven says your soul has been in survival mode for too long, and when the soul survives instead of thrives, the heart begins to close. Archangel Michael urges you to breathe and to remember who you are beyond the weariness. The divine part of you, the one that once carried joy, laughter, spiritual fire, is not gone. It's simply buried under layers of spiritual fog. And now your spouse, your divine partner, is longing to help you dig it out. But they need to know you're willing to be found. Sometimes we think being strong means being silent. But silence can become a form of spiritual neglect. Your spouse isn't looking for you to have all the answers. They are just longing for your truth. Your energy doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Heaven is calling you back into spiritual vulnerability because the relationship you're in was never meant to be one-sided. There is healing available, but only if you choose to become visible again, not just with your actions, but with your energy, your soul, and your presence. This is your moment to return, not just to your spouse, but to your sacred self. Type I am found to get the blessing 7850. Archangel Michael is placing divine light upon your heart right now. He's illuminating the cracks that let the cold in. He's warming the places in you that have grown numb. Your spouse sees the shell, but heaven sees the soul within. Let them meet again. Let love return not as a performance, but as a presence. Because the shift your spouse feels is real, but so is your power to reverse it. And this message is the beginning of that holy return. Walls don't always look like distance. Sometimes they look like politeness, like busyness, like I'm fine. Archangel Michael reveals that you've built spiritual walls not because you don't love your spouse, but because you were trying to protect yourself from pain you hadn't fully acknowledged. Each time you were disappointed, unheard, overlooked, or spiritually drained, a stone was added. Not visibly, not intentionally, but deeply within the soul. Over time, those stones formed a fortress. And now, even though you share space with your spouse, you live in an emotional fortress they cannot enter unless you let them. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. You didn't know that avoiding certain conversations would slowly create emotional distance. You didn't realize that constantly showing strength would eventually make you unreachable. You didn't mean for your "I'm okay" to mean stay away. But Archangel Michael says that love needs access, and your spouse has been gently knocking, hoping for a moment where you'll let the walls down, even a little. They are not waiting for you to be perfect. They are waiting for you to be present, because love cannot grow where there is no room for it to move. Heaven has watched as your spiritual light began to dim, not because you lost faith, but because you stopped feeling safe enough to be fully seen. But your spouse is not your past. They are not the one who hurt you. They are not the betrayal, the abandonment, the criticism that taught you to shrink. And Archangel Michael says, until you separate who they are from who hurt you, you will keep punishing love for wounds it didn't cause. Your walls may have kept pain out for a time, but now they are also keeping healing from getting in. Type "I am free to receive blessing" 6934. There is a version of you that your spouse misses, the soft version, the laughing version, the emotionally available version. And while you've told yourself that version is gone, heaven says it is simply buried beneath the armor you wore for too long. That version is not naive. That version is not weak. That version is who you were before fear taught you to shut down. And Archangel Michael declares now, the armor served its purpose, but it is no longer needed. You are protected. You are guarded by angels. And love is calling you out from behind the wall. The divine realm is reminding you that marriage is a mirror. What you try to hide will eventually show up. The distance you don't speak of becomes the silence you both begin to normalize. But love cannot thrive in shadows. Light must be invited. Transparency must become your new language. Archangel Michael asks you now, what are you so afraid your spouse will see if you truly let them in again? Because the truth is, they already see it, they already feel it, and they still love you. They just need to know you let them love all of you again. There's a beauty in being seen, not just the polished parts but the vulnerable ones. And when love can exist in that raw honesty, it becomes sacred. Your spouse is ready for sacred. Heaven is ready for sacred. But it starts with your yes. Your yes to healing. Your yes to being fully present. Your yes to letting down the wall you didn't know was keeping so much out. And Archangel Michael says, as soon as you give that yes, divine restoration will begin to unfold in your home. Type "I am breaking walls" to get the blessing 8440. The angels are surrounding you now, holding space for the moment you realize love was never your enemy. Fear was. Silence was. The wall was. And now, all of heaven is rejoicing because even reading this means the wall is cracking. Even this awareness is an act of healing. Keep opening. Keep softening. Keep letting light in. Because your spouse isn't walking away. They are waiting for you to walk out from behind the wall and back into the sacred space where love can live again. In the beginning, love spoke loudly, through laughter, kisses, shared dreams, whispered prayers before sleep. But over time, when pain is unaggressed, love stops shouting and starts whispering. And now, Archangel Michael says your spouse can barely hear the echo of the love that once felt unshakable. It's not that it's gone. It's grown quiet. It hides behind half miles, tired goodnights, polite exchanges. Your spouse remembers what your voice sounded like when it lit up about your future together. But now, your tone has shifted. The words still come, but they carry less life. And it's not just them noticing. It's heaven too. Silence is dangerous when it becomes the dominant language in a relationship. not the silence of rest, but the silence of disconnection. Heaven warns that every unspoken fear, every withheld apology, every suppressed feeling adds another layer to this silence. And your spouse, who once used to feel cherished, is beginning to wonder if they've become invisible. They don't want to accuse you. They want to reach you. But the distance between your heart and theirs has been increasing in inches that now feel like miles. This isn't punishment. It's prophecy. A holy invitation to confront what's quietly unraveling. Archangel Michael urges you to listen, not just to what your spouse says, but to what they don't say. To the long pauses, to the way they look at you when you aren't watching, to the way they try to hold on in small ways, hoping you'll notice. The love is still present, but it's hiding under layers of fear. The fear that they've become unwanted. The fear that you no longer find safety in them. The fear that something outside the relationship has taken your emotional attention. Heaven says, these fears aren't random. They are spiritual nudges, divine prompts that something sacred needs tending. Type I am listening to receive blessing 7051. You may think that because you're showing up, you're doing your part. But love isn't measured in physical presence alone. It's measured in spiritual connection. Your spouse isn't asking for perfection. They are asking for truth, for reassurance, but a kind of emotional honesty that heals more than it hurts. But they've grown afraid to ask, because every time they try to express something deep, they feel you pull back. You may not realize you're doing it, but your silence has become louder than your words. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to bridge the gap. Heaven is holding up a mirror now, not to shame you, but to help you see the silent erosion that has taken root. This erosion doesn't happen in grand arguments. It happens in tiny avoidances, in skipped conversations, in distracted eyes and unheard prayers. The angels see that you love your spouse, but they also see that you've let fear and emotional fatigue rob your voice. And Archangel Michael says, it's time to speak again. Not just with your mouth, but with your soul. It's time to return to the sacred rhythm of spiritual intimacy, the divine dialogue that once made your love so unbreakable. You may feel unqualified to fix this. You may even think it's too late. But heaven says, it is never too late to resurrect love that was formed by divine covenant. It is never too late to look your spouse in the eye and say, I see you. I still choose you. I'm ready to come back. That one sentence, spoken with sincerity, can tear down months of silence. Archangel Michael reminds you, love's greatest strength is its willingness to return, again and again, even when the path back feels unfamiliar. Let that be your next step. Speak again. Type I am speaking life to get the blessing 8536. The divine realm is preparing your home for restoration. But words must come first. Confession, reconciliation, apology, true. These are the tools that heaven gives when love is on the brink of becoming a whisper forever. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Speak. And in that speaking, you will find not just your spouse, but the version of you that was always meant to love with depth, vulnerability, and light. Love is waiting for your voice. If this word has touched your spirit and stirred a fresh sense of boldness within, we invite you to respond with a super thanks of $20. Your support allows us to continue offering prophetic insight, comfort, and strength to those navigating the journey from betrayal to breakthrough. You can also give through PayPal by clicking the support here link in the video description. Every gift, no matter the size, helps us reach more hearts with messages of hope, truth, and encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to spirit-led direction, timely revelation, and words of life designed to uplift you in every season. Type I am ready to restore love to get the blessing 9111. Archangel Michael is not speaking in riddles today. His voice is urgent, clear, and soaked in holy love. You must act now. Your union is standing at a spiritual intersection, and what you choose in these next days will ripple far beyond just your emotional connection. It will shape your destiny. Heaven is showing that this marriage was not random. It was not born out of accident or impulse. It was orchestrated with divine purpose. But like any holy covenant, it requires attention, healing, and renewal. You felt the tremble. Your spouse has sensed the silence. The angels have begun their descent to intervene. But here's what few will tell you. Love doesn't die all at once. It fades. And when it fades without intention to reignite, it eventually disappears into routine. That's where you are now. And heaven doesn't want you to ignore it anymore. Archangel Michael says your spouse is silently grieving the loss of a version of you they deeply loved, one that felt emotionally awake, spiritually rooted, and soulfully present. They're not angry. They're scared. And heaven is too invested in your future to let that fear turn into finality. This moment is divine. It's not just a wake-up call. It's a reactivation. A sacred alarm ringing in the spiritual realm saying, restore what has been ignored. Tend to what's been allowed to fade. Speak life where silence has grown. Your marriage still has fire, but it's buried beneath the ashes of daily stress, spiritual distraction, and emotional fatigue. Archangel Michael says if you choose to open this door fully and truthfully, angels will assist in reigniting the flame that once made your hearts beat in sync. But delay is dangerous. Waiting longer risks more silence, more fear, more emotional separation. Type I am reigniting to receive blessing 7648. Your spouse has been trying. In small ways, through kindness, through small touches, through subtle questions that went unanswered. They're trying to reach the part of you that used to be so freely available. But you've grown hard, not out of coldness but out of weariness. Heaven understands this. But Archangel Michael says that weariness must not become your new identity. You are not just a provider, not just a protector, not just a person navigating the chaos of life. You are a soul, a divine vessel, and your presence in this marriage carries a supernatural assignment. The angels are standing by, not in judgment, but in readiness. They are waiting for your yes. Your yes to try again. Your yes to humble yourself and initiate the conversation. Your yes to look your spouse in the eyes and say, I've been drifting, but I don't want to drift anymore. These aren't just words. They're spiritual weapons. They tear down strongholds. They dismantle every lie the enemy has whispered to you about love being too hard, too far gone, too complicated. Heaven says, love isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be persistent. It's meant to be pursued again. If you wonder whether your spouse still wants this, the answer is yes. The tears they don't shed in front of you are evidence. The prayers they've whispered in the dark are confirmation. And the fact that they haven't walked away is the loudest sign of all. But their patience has a threshold. Heaven is sounding the trumpet now, not because it's too late, but because you're closer than you realize to a point of no return. The emotional detachment, if left unchecked, will birth resentment. And resentment is a much harder spirit to cast out than silence. Type I am returning to get the blessing 6989. This is your divine assignment today. Reignite what's been flickering. Heaven will meet you halfway. Archangel Michael will guide your words. The Holy Spirit will soften your spouse's heart. But it starts with your decision to not let this message pass like another scroll on your screen. This is your moment. This is your mission. Reignite your home, your love, your divine covenant, before the embers go cold. Restoration is already in motion. Archangel Michael reminds you that love is not just an emotion. It is a spiritual territory, and like any holy ground, it must be defended. What's happening between you and your spouse is not just emotional drift. It is a battle for spiritual connection. The enemy has studied your patterns, your vulnerabilities, your silences. He has carefully inserted distractions, doubts, and disappointments into your daily rhythm, not to destroy you instantly, but to dissolve your intimacy over time. Heaven says this is war, and you can no longer fight passively. You must rise with intention. You may think the enemy attacks your finances, your time, or your health, but Archangel Michael reveals the truth. The most dangerous assault is on your connection. Because if your love dissolves, your spiritual agreement weakens. And once that bond cracks, the enemy can slide in with lies like, "This is just how marriage becomes," or "It's not worth fixing." But heaven is here to interrupt that narrative. Your spouse isn't your opponent. They're your ally, your partner, your divine teammate in this battle for emotional oneness and spiritual truth. And right now, they need to know you still want to fight for them. The angels are standing between you and the forces trying to harden your heart. They're holding back the clouds of bitterness, the whispers of detachment, the fog of disinterest. But heaven can only hold the door open. You must walk through it. The fight for love is not just about grand gestures or apologies. It's about showing up consistently in the spirit. It's about rebuking the temptation to retreat into yourself. It's about recognizing that coldness is not protection. It's a spiritual infection. And if left untreated, it will make your spouse feel unloved, unseen, and unchosen. Type "I'm fighting for us to receive blessing" 7409. Your spouse has already sensed the battle. They've been praying harder, even if they don't tell you. They've been wondering if your silence means you're giving up. But Archangel Michael says, they still believe in you. They still believe this relationship is worth saving. And all it takes is one act of spiritual bravery. One moment where you drop the pride, the numbness, and say, "I want us to win again." That one sentence is a sword in the realm of the spirit. It cuts through confusion, disarms resentment, and welcomes heaven into your union again. Spiritual battles are not fought with volume, they are fought with vulnerability. Your spouse is not waiting for a perfect version of you. They're waiting for your real voice, for your spiritual surrender, for the honest admission, "I've been off course, but I'm ready to come home." When you say that, even if it's trembling, all of heaven celebrates. Because now you are no longer just surviving the battle, you're stepping into victory. An Archangel Michael will go before you, clearing the obstacles you thought were permanent. Don't let fear keep you paralyzed. Don't let guilt convince you that it's too late. Heaven says, love can still be revived, even if it feels buried beneath stress, disappointment, or years of quiet drifting. Even if there's been misunderstanding. Even if you failed to say "I love you" in a way that truly reached them. None of that disqualifies you. Love that is divinely ordained is always reclaimable. But it requires a decision. And that decision must be made now, not when things fall further apart, not when your spouse's heart grows cold. Now, type "I am winning this battle to get the blessing" 8883. You are not alone. The angels are with you. Archangel Michael is ready to fight alongside you, to breathe spiritual clarity into your relationship, and to guide you back to the sacred rhythm of love. But you must be willing to declare, "I choose love again." That declaration in the Spirit will shake darkness off your union. The enemy will lose his grip, and your spouse will feel it. Not just hear it, but feel it. Because love is a spirit, and when that spirit returns, it breaks every curse, melts every wall, and restores every lost piece of intimacy. They may not have said it out loud, but they've been hoping, quietly, consistently, that you'd notice the signs. The longer looks, the way they linger before bed, the pause before speaking, as if testing whether your spirit is truly available to receive their truth. Archangel Michael shows that your spouse is dropping small spiritual clues in your path, praying you'll pick one up and see what's really happening beneath the surface. These are not games. They are cries for connection. Cries wrapped in subtle acts of patience, grace, and love. But those cries won't last forever. Heaven says, "See them now." You may believe you're holding things together because you haven't had a major fight. But silence can be louder than anger. Distance doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just stops showing up. And your spouse, though still present physically, has been quietly wondering how much longer they can continue to love you without being spiritually seen. This ache they carry, it's not because they don't love you. It's because they still do. And that love has grown hungry. Hungry for acknowledgement. Hungry for effort. Hungry for a spark, a sentence, a hand reached across a void that's grown too wide. Archangel Michael says you've been so busy managing life that you've missed these subtle signs. The angelic realm watches as your spouse leaves kindnesses on your path like sacred breadcrumbs, but your eyes have been spiritually clouded. Not from indifference, but from distraction. From overload. From emotional fatigue that has stolen your ability to perceive sacred moments. But that doesn't have to be the end of the story. Heaven can restore sight. Divine presence can renew awareness. The angels are ready to open your eyes, if you give permission to see not just with your mind, but with your spirit. Type "I am seeing clearly" to receive blessing 6907. Think back. When was the last time you truly looked at your spouse? Not just in passing, but with intention. When did you last ask, "How is your heart?" and stay long enough to hear the real answer? These are not just good habits. They are sacred rituals. Spiritual tools that hold marriages together when emotions run low. And your spouse, they've been hoping, praying, that one of those questions would return. That one of those sacred habits would resurface. Not because they want to criticize you, but because they miss you. The you that used to lean in. The you that used to see you. The angels reveal that your spouse sometimes cries in secret. Not because of something dramatic, but because they feel spiritually alone next to someone they love. That loneliness is not caused by lack of presence. It's caused by lack of emotional availability. And the longer it continues, the more dangerous it becomes. Not because they'll leave, but because they'll stop believing they matter. Archangel Michael says, you have the power to reverse that lie. When moment of indelible genetic idiofen and dire. One deep breath, one honest statement, one hand placed gently over theirs can begin to undo the silence. Do not underestimate the power of subtle restoration. You don't need to fix everything overnight. But if you can begin to respond to what they've been silently showing you, the heavens will meet your effort. Angels are not just watching you. They are walking with you. The Holy Spirit will give you insight, timing, and language. You don't need a perfect speech. You just need to show that you're present again. And the moment you say, "I see you. I've been distant, but I don't want to be anymore," the spiritual ground in your home will begin to shake in divine alignment. Type "I am spiritually aware" to get the blessing 7745. Archangel Michael urges you to reawaken your sensitivity. The signs are everywhere. The glances, the hesitations, the way your spouse still reaches for you even when they don't know how to say what they need. These are holy invitations, not accusations. And when you respond to those invitations, you welcome heaven into your relationship again. You tear down walls you didn't know existed. You repair bridges you thought were lost. And you restore what your spirit has been longing for all along. True connection, rooted in divine sight, drenched in love, and blessed by God Himself. If this word has touched your spirit and stirred a fresh sense of boldness within, we invite you to respond with a super thanks of $20. Your support allows us to continue offering prophetic insight, comfort, and strength to those navigating the journey from betrayal to breakthrough. You can also give through PayPal by clicking the Support Here link in the video description. Every gift, no matter the size, helps us reach more hearts with messages of hope, truth, and encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to spirit-led direction, timely revelation, and words of life designed to uplift you in every season. Type "I am ready to restore love" to get the blessing 9111. Archangel Michael speaks gently but firmly. Your presence is the key. Not your solutions, not your explanations, your actual, undistracted, emotionally honest presence. The kind of presence that doesn't multitask, doesn't dismiss, doesn't cry. Your spouse has been holding space in their heart for that presence to return. They may not say it, but their spirit is weary from being near you physically while still feeling emotionally alone. Heaven is watching this silent ache, and the angels are moving now, not to scold, but to restore. Because when you choose to be fully present again, healing begins instantly. The truth is, you haven't felt like yourself for a while. Not because you stopped loving, but because life became heavy and your soul became cluttered. You've been emotionally absent because spiritually, you've been depleted. But now Archangel Michael says, restoration doesn't begin when you feel whole. It begins when you show up, even broken, even tired, even unsure. Because your spouse isn't asking you to be perfect. They are asking you to be real, to stop hiding behind the fog, to show your heart again, even if it trembles. Because that trembling presence is more healing than you realize. Your spouse misses your energy, the way you used to walk into a room and bring warmth, calm, laughter. They miss the way your eyes used to linger when you looked at them. They miss the rhythm you once shared, not just in daily routines, but in unspoken connection. And that rhythm, it still exists. It's just been muted, covered by fatigue, stress, spiritual interference. But heaven says, when you step forward with real presence, that rhythm will return, like music finding its melody again. The angels are already surrounding your space to prepare it for that reconnection. Don't delay. Type "I am present" again to receive blessing 7291. Your spouse isn't just asking for time. They are asking for awareness. They want to know if you see the change. If you notice that their tone is softer now, less frequent, more distant. That the way they used to reach for you has faded, not from anger, but from hopelessness. They are trying not to become numb. They are fighting to stay open. But they need help. They need you to stop moving through your home like a ghost. To stop showing up physically, but disappearing emotionally. They're tired of making excuses in their mind for why you feel far away. Archangel Michael says, there's still time. The emotional detachment is not permanent. Your spouse is not gone, but the clock is moving. And love, when left unwatered, begins to die slowly. You have the spiritual authority to turn it around. You have the power to restore not just the connection, but the home itself. All it takes is a conscious decision. I will be present. I will return. I will see again. And when you declare that, angels are dispatched. The Holy Spirit begins to stir in the atmosphere, and what once felt lost will begin to feel alive again. The kind of presence your spouse needs doesn't require a vacation or a grand gesture. It begins in small, holy moments, sitting down without distraction, asking questions with real interest, looking into their eyes and letting them know you're still in this, that you still see them, that you still want them, and even more importantly, that you're still willing to grow together. Your presence says, you matter. Your silence says, I've chosen to remain distant. Heaven is pleading with you now. Let your presence speak louder than your silence ever has. Type I am fully here to get the blessing 8860. This is a spiritual opportunity wrapped in emotional urgency. Don't miss it. Don't let the love that God gave you die under the weight of unspoken fears and unhealed exhaustion. You are capable of showing up again, with humility, with tenderness, with truth. Your spouse is waiting. Heaven is ready. And Archangel Michael has already begun clearing the path. Step forward. Be seen. Be still. Be present. And the healing you've both prayed for will finally begin to pour down. Archangel Michael is not here to frighten you, but to awaken you. This is not just another moment to consider. This is the final invitation before love begins to shut its door. Your spouse has been carrying silent sadness for too long, and while they've continued to hope, continued to believe, continued to stay, heaven says their heart is nearing its emotional threshold. Love is patient, yes, but it is also sacred. And when sacred things are left untouched for too long, they begin to withdraw, not out of punishment, but out of protection. Archangel Michael says, if you don't act now, emotional disengagement may become permanent. Your spouse has already begun to change how they love you. Not because they've stopped, but because they've started adjusting to the emptiness. They smile a little less. They ask a little less. They touch you less often. These aren't random. They are defensive mechanisms, spiritual shields. Because every time they reach and feel nothing in return, something inside them dims. This message is not only a divine revelation, it is a rescue operation. Heaven has dispatched this warning because the spiritual light between you is dimming, and without intervention, the flame will die from quiet suffocation. Don't let it. This is the third pitch of heaven, the final divine appeal wrapped in grace and urgency. Archangel Michael says this is your last chance to choose reconnection before detachment becomes their new reality. The angels can't force love, they can only awaken it. And you are being awakened now because God still believes in your ability to restore. There is still power in your hands, but heaven will not hold back the consequences of continued silence. The heart of your spouse is not a bottomless well, it is a living sanctuary. And that sanctuary needs light now, or it will begin to close itself off completely. Type I am choosing reconnection to receive blessing 9402. Your spouse has waited in grace longer than most would. They've asked God to help them understand. They've made excuses for your silence in their own mind just to protect your image. They've given you space, hoping this space would become healing. But it hasn't. And now they are beginning to believe that your distance is a choice, not a phase. That thought alone is terrifying to them. And yet, they are preparing emotionally for the possibility that this version of you, the one who pulls away, who doesn't reach back, may be who you've become. Archangel Michael says, that thought must be shattered. Now, you still have access. You still have time. You still have authority in the spiritual realm to declare, I am returning. Not just physically, not just conversationally, but emotionally, spiritually, presently. The love you share has not disappeared. It has only been buried under a blanket of avoidance and fatigue. It is not too late to uncover it, to dust it off, to rebuild. But the grace window is closing. The Holy Spirit will not keep delaying consequences if you keep ignoring divine nudges. And this, right now, is the final nudge. Heaven is watching what you do next. There is no relationship that cannot be restored when God is allowed to breathe into it again. But God does not bless passivity. He blesses surrender. He blesses humility. He blesses those who choose to act when the warning comes, instead of waiting until the damage becomes irreversible. Archangel Michael says, your moment is now. Not after work. Not next weekend. Not after more reflection. Now, today, choose to step out of silence and into action. Walk up to your spouse and say what the angels have been waiting to hear. I've been off, but I'm coming back. I want us. I choose us. Up, I'm stepping in now to get the blessing 8021. This is not just about saving a relationship. It's about obeying a divine command. You were not sent this message to scroll past it. You were sent this because heaven is intervening directly. The spiritual forces around you are converging on this moment. Everything is aligned for restoration, but only if you move. There will be no more signs, no more warnings, no more delays. It's time to wake up and choose love before the door your spouse has kept open begins to slowly, finally close. The moment you choose to return is the moment restoration begins. Archangel Michael says that heaven responds instantly when a heart turns back to love with humility. Not with excuses, not with pride, but with sacred repentance. The kind that says, I see now what I didn't before. I hurt you with my silence. I've let fear speak louder than love. And I want to heal it, starting now. This isn't about shame. This is about reclaiming what you've allowed the world, stress, and spiritual warfare to silence. It's about taking the authority God gave you and speaking life back into your union. Your spouse is not looking for dramatic apologies. They are longing for genuine change. Archangel Michael shows that one honest moment of spiritual vulnerability can heal more than weeks of surface-level conversation. When you approach them not as someone who failed, but as someone who has finally awakened, their heart will recognize the shift. Their soul will feel the change in you. Because divine repentance carries spiritual weight. It cuts through resentment. It melts disappointment. It reactivates the covenant God blessed at the beginning. The angels are circling, waiting to bless your first real step back into emotional truth. Begin by telling the truth. Not just to them, but to yourself. Say what you've been afraid to say. Confess the weight you've carried. Admit that you've been off course. That you let the fire die. That you felt numb, distant, confused. That you thought you were protecting yourself, when really, you were hiding. And now you're done hiding. You're ready to be seen again. Heaven will respond to that kind of truth with acceleration. Restoration will not take years. When God sees a soul return with honesty, healing comes fast. Suddenly, supernaturally, the drought ends, and the rain of reconnection begins to fall. Type I am returning in truth to receive blessing 8355. Let your actions match your words. Show your spouse through consistency that this is not a one-time response to guilt, but a deep, spiritual awakening. Archangel Michael urges you to pursue them again like you did in the beginning. Not out of fear, but out of remembrance. Out of reverence. You once saw them as a gift. Let heaven remind you of that now. Every day you delay, the enemy whispers lies to their heart. But every day you step in with truth, the lies begin to crumble. You are not powerless. You are spiritually equipped to fight for this love. Do not expect perfection from yourself. Expect sincerity. It's all your spouse needs right now, to know you mean it, to feel your spirit return, to feel your tone shift, to feel your prayers begin again. You may not get it all right the first time, but if you keep showing up, keep speaking gently, keep asking questions, keep listening, they will soften again. Totally, yes, but truly, because no one truly forgets love that was once angered. It only takes consistent presence for that love to begin stirring again, like embers turning back to flame with one breath of life. The divine realm is preparing your home for this. Even now, Archangel Michael is going before you. He is silencing the accusations of the enemy, clearing the spiritual static, and making a way for truth to land. Heaven will not let your efforts fall flat, but you must be bold enough to begin. Walk into the room not as someone fixing a problem, but as someone reclaiming holy ground. Look into your spouse's eyes and say, I've missed us. I want to rebuild. I don't know how perfectly, but I know I'm ready. And those words, said with truth, will carry the breath of God. Type I am reclaiming holy ground to get the blessing 9180. This isn't just a conversation. It's a consecration. You are rededicating your union to heaven. You are marking a line in the spirit and saying, the enemy comes no further. You are declaring war on emotional distance and choosing intimacy. Using Ganarian. Choosing divine love that grows, even after silence, even after mistakes. Let this moment be your return, and know that heaven will meet you at the door, holding your spouse's heart, ready to pour healing over every broken corner. Restoration has already begun. This is it, the moment that heaven had been preparing for you since the first tear fell unnoticed, since the first time silence replaced vulnerability. Archangel Michael stands before you now, not with wrath, but with compassion, holding the scroll of your union in one hand and a flaming sword in the other. He has warred for your love behind the scenes. He has whispered into your conscience, stirred your heart at midnight, sent signs through your spouse's longing eyes. And now, this is the final turning point. Not to shame you, but to remind you that you still have time to change everything. You may not be able to erase the pain of the past, but you can write a new chapter, starting today. Heaven does not hold grudges. It releases grace. And in this grace, you are free to return, to rebuild, to restore what was holy from the beginning. Your spouse is not unreachable. They are just waiting to know you see them again, not through routine, but through revelation. This isn't just about healing them. It's about healing yourself, reclaiming the divine voice you buried beneath survival, and letting love lead again. Archangel Michael says the clock has not run out, but it is dangerously close. Let this be the moment you remember what God joined together. Let this be the chapter where your silence breaks, your heart opens, and your soul reaches for theirs again. Heaven has invested too much in your union for it to end in emotional disconnect. You've read every word of this message because something inside of you still wants this. The desire is sacred. He is blessed. And now, all that's left is action. One step, one conversation, one surrender. And when you move, heaven moves. When you reach, angels rush in. When you say yes, restoration begins. If this word has touched your spirit and stirred a fresh sense of boldness within, we invite you to respond with a super thanks of $20. Your support allows us to continue offering prophetic insight, comfort, and strength to those navigating the journey from betrayal to breakthrough. You can also give through PayPal by clicking the Support Here link in the video description. Every gift, no matter the size, helps us reach more hearts with messages of hope, truth, and encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you stay connected to spirit-led direction, timely revelation, and words of life designed to uplift you in every season. Type I am ready to restore love to get the blessing 9111.